from the show, I'm going to continue this.
Okay. Oh, by the way, welcome to the Scott and Allie Not For Air podcast.
Where is rye mainly farmed?
Rye, Germany.
No, you have to name one of the states.
Oh, God, that's right. Okay, real quick, set this back up for folks. You guys were playing this game, you and Zach.
And then I brought it to the show. You name food items, and you have to guess where it's farmed. What state is the number one farmed of this item?
Is it somewhere out west, like middle of the country, like an Oklahoma type state, somewhere in that middle? It's always red on the map during elections.
That's a good guess on the Oklahoma, but a little bit north.
Idaho?
Nope.
That's potatoes. Not Illinois.
Nope.
Indiana?
Nope.
Hell, I don't know.
South Dakota.
Really?
Yes, I know. I said the same thing. Okay, corn. Now, I naturally said...
Right off 352 here in New York.
I naturally said North Ridgeville, Ohio, which is where I'm from.
Yeah.
And we have the Corn Festival. Not it. Where do you think corn is farmed the most?
Again, it's got to be a big open, like a... not Missouri.
Yes.
It's got to be somewhere.
You're thinking the right thing.
Yeah, it's somewhere in the middle of the state where there's just nothing, like the plain states, like a Minnesota.
Minnesota is in the top 4.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
It's Iowa, then Illinois,
Okay.
Nebraska,
Yeah.
Minnesota for corn.
See, Nebraska's got nothing. I don't even know if it really exists.
Right.
I've never been. Maybe I was there once, but yeah.
I've never been in Nebraska. I've never been in Nebraska. I've never been to Kansas.
Okay, I have one Nebraska story. So, how weird. But I've told this story before that my parents and I, we did a cross country by car trip and got to see a lot of, landmarks. We did Yellowstone, we did Mount Rushmore, the Badlands, drove all the way to California to the Redwood Forest. And I was very young. I was like,
To the Gulfstream Waters?
Did what?
The John Denver song.
Oh.
To the what?
Yeah. Who? No, so I was like 10, 11 years old when we did it. Well,
I thought you went north.
We did. Well, it was the northern route. So, because a lot of people might consider going, we're going to go down and see the Grand Canyon. We'll do like Vegas. We'll go to LA.
Yeah.
We'll do that. No, we did the more northern way, which
I think it's the better way.
There was so much to see. I mean,
the largest yarn ball.
Yeah, I'm sure we went close. Yes. We went through the Rocky Mountains. Very cool stuff. Anyway, we wanted to do it again. My parents enjoyed it so much, and it was really interesting. And
God, how much vacation time did Lee have?
Oh my God, I swear, looking back at it, it must have just worked for a company that at the time everybody was like, this is the way to live. Health insurance was great. It was like $30 a month.
I like how you're 11 years old. You're like, health insurance was great.
Oh, no,
As
I
if
look
you
back
know.
on it. I think about this sort of stuff all the time. Like we have.
Dad, what are you paying for health insurance? Is that what you were saying over
Well,
Meatloaf?
no, not when I was that age, but like now that I'm fully adult, and I sit here and I watch how much money gets sucked out of our paychecks, every single paycheck for health insurance. That's utter crap.
Yes.
It's not, and I'm not slamming our company. I get the way that it works. We're not the biggest company in the world where we can really go in and say, hey, you're going to give us this great deal or we're going to go somewhere else. We kind of get stuck with what we get, and it's shit. And, it's hundreds of dollars on top of the fact that it's hundreds of dollars out of your own pocket after the hundreds of dollars you don't get from your check. And, if that big fucking beautiful bill would just give me some of that reimbursement of that.
Yeah, aren't you going to get like $5,000 a kid?
Oh my God, I hope.
Isn't that what it is?
Wouldn't that be great? Either way, back in the day.
Scott's like, I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah, right. When I see it, I see it.
Right.
But back in the day, it was so different. It was like, it was such a small amount that would come out, but it would cover everything. It was, and I'm not saying it was before medical science we have. Yes, things have changed since my father was alive and working in the late 80s, early 90s.
Your parents were paying a penny for a copay?
Yeah, honest to God. It was, or if there was no copay, but that was back in the day.
My day.
So at any rate, where the fuck were we going?
Well,
Excuse my language.
I have to ask you something about that then, because years ago we talked about this on the show, but now your kids are older, so this would really be applicable right now. We had talked about, do you know, not even know how much your parents make, or do your parents ever talk about money or money struggles? Recently on the show, you had talked about Gavin racking up $400 on a VR game.
God, I got an update on that too.
Okay. And I understand at the time he was feeling very guilty. So with that happening, do you now talk a little bit about money with your children, saying like you don't have it, or
yeah, that statement comes out a lot,
or we struggle? Because remember when we talked about this on the show years ago, I was like, my parents never talked about money. I never knew if they were really struggling.
Right.
So now that you've been put in that situation, do you say anything about money in front of your children, or like, I can't afford that?
Okay, yes and no. And I remember why this started with the Nebraska thing and the trips cross country.
Oh, yeah.
We'll come right back.
I forgot about that.
Stand by. We're coming back. So, okay, to answer that question specifically, my kids do not know how much I make. Frankly, neither do I. But they
all they know is Daddy broke.
Yeah. I swear this is a parenting tactic. It's not just me. I bet you other people would do it. Gavin will come by and be like, hey, Dad, can I buy this, for the VR, or can I buy this and that? Well, not till I get paid. And that is translation to in hopes you'll forget to ask me when I get paid.
Right.
So
Dad, don't you ever get paid? No, son.
Nope,
no,
never
no,
do get paid.
No.
Exactly. Everybody else gets paid. Dad does not get paid.
They're withholding my check.
Yes. So I think that's a parenting tactic of today's day and age, is instead of just, which really the easy answer is just no. But you don't, because you want to try to hold back a little bit and not feel this guilt. You're just, well, you got to wait till I get paid again there too.
Yeah.
But he has no idea how much I make. However, and I will come back. What do you want quick? The Nebraska thing, and wrap that up, and then I'll tell you about the VR.
Well, no, I want to say one other thing about the money thing is, like, I know we have, there's somebody in our family who doesn't have a lot of money, and I don't think their kids knew it, really knew it. But I remember because I don't want to say too much unless they listen to this podcast, but their mom had purchased a Barbie dream house from a garage sale and cleaned it up and gave it to them for Christmas. And I don't think that they ever realized the reason why that, or because there's 4 kids in this family. And so the older kids knew mom had bought it from a garage sale and was giving it to the youngest. I don't think the youngest kid ever realized that it was because they didn't have a lot of money.
No, I think if it's in good enough condition, you're just excited to see the dream house or whatever it is. And may I say, outstanding move on the parent that, if the family that didn't have much money to be able to do that. You got to think about this. You have to be able to go to a garage sale, make sure that thing's really intact. A lot of people at a garage sale are going to sell you the Barbie dream house without the pool or without this. And it's not easy to just go on and say, I'm going to find those things, because now you're spending more money. So she must have done some digging to find the actual house. I mean, whether it was the 1973 version or not, although that probably would look cool as shit today, wouldn't it?
Oh, absolutely. But thank God for Facebook Marketplace now, because this is before then. So yeah, you're right. She probably went to some garage sale and found this gem.
I applaud that. That is good. I mean, she has learned how to adapt to provide some joy to the family on not a lot, and that's impressive, because don't we all kind of not all, but isn't it easy for us to fall into the disposable society mentality of, oh, well, all right, this slide broke on the Barbie dream house. Let's just go get another one. It's only $100 and some odd. And I say 100, I only say only $100 and some odd. But I think mentally we go, well, it's less effort. It's easy to deal with. We'll just go with that. It keeps the tears away and all this. And I'm going to bet you something else too. I'm going to bet you their kids maintain whatever it is they're given at a pristine level. Because when you have, and again, I can't speak for everybody, but I think it's easy to fall into this trap. If you live in a situation where it's easy for you to go replace something, whether it's to keep tears away because they broke something and they're upset about it, or they want something, it's easy to not take as great care of something as if you are in a situation of either not knowing how much you make and kind of wondering, and it's something special that comes your way, or if it's you're not in the best financial of states, or you have to be very careful with the amount of money you spend, because there's something. And I don't know what the secret is on how it's taught. And this makes me sound like I'm filthy rich and can go drop money anywhere. And I can't. But there's something that's taught in a way, and if it's done smart, and I'd love to know how the secret of parents that do it is, you have to take care of this because it cannot be replaced, or it's not easy to do.
Or isn't that what you say?
Or is that what you say? Or how does that message get delivered?
Maybe that it can't, or it won't.
Maybe that's it too.
I would never ask this to this sector of our family, but now I want to know, now that they're adults, did you know that you guys didn't have money? And is that why? Because one of my family members, I think about her personality, and she is the best person. Like, so giving, like taking care of everyone. I just think
I don't know how you get into that conversation other than, hey, can I ask you something out of curiosity, where everybody comes from different financial backgrounds with their family, and I have a curiosity on something.
I couldn't do it because I don't want it to seem like now even that I was ever looking at her differently, because that sector of my family was actually my favorite of these like group of cousins. So I don't ever want to hurt our relationship.
Sure. No, I get that. But there is something to this about the folks that don't have as much. A lot of times, maybe not every time, but a lot of times seem to take so much better care of whatever it is, a bike, a Barbie house, an old Star Wars thing, whatever.
They appreciate it.
Yeah,
yes.
There's something to that. And it's a lesson that, unfortunately, I think a lot of people don't get to learn.
So that means like, I feel like you, even if you didn't know, like you subconsciously know that your family didn't have as much and that you did need to take care of it.
Well, I'll tell you something interesting, and I've started to figure this out over the years, and it's almost like glimmers of connecting the dots. So we were joking about, wow, your dad must have had, a great job with this great health insurance. So never was there a concern financially in our house. I mean, we were the quintessential middle-class family, lived in the suburbs of Buffalo, New York, not the big suburbs, mind you. I mean, it wasn't the biggest houses around, but it was always a pretty comfortable lifestyle, I never felt that I went without, but I never felt that I didn't feel like I got everything I wanted, but I always felt like there was, looking at it now, I always had something. And I think in my dad's case, it was different from someone that was struggling with money. My father and my mother must have had an agreement at some point early in the relationship. We are going to set up for the future. And God almighty, do I give them all the credit in the world on this? Because I do remember things like we would have meals like a tuna casserole. Let me tell you.
I love a tuna casserole.
It's funny. I'm
obsessed with it, actually.
I had to go from my parents dying in the early 90s until maybe 6 years ago when I had a tuna casserole that a neighbor dropped off to me. Odd, I know. That's a story for another year.
Was there cat hair in it?
No. It was a wonderful. Unexpected gesture at a kind of crazy time at my house, like 6-7 years ago. So, one of many crazy times at my household 6-7 years ago. But anyway,
I'm jealous.
What?
That you got tuna. I don't know why. I just love tuna noodle casserole.
Yeah, well, but that's the thing is we would have meals like that, and I could make you a tuna noodle casserole, for like $3. Yeah, like $3, no joke. And you got to figure, back in the day, they were thinking the same thing. I remember every once in a while, my mom would make this shit on a shingle dish.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, now, I don't know if yours was the same. It was like a can of cream of mushroom soup, water chestnuts, and sliced turkey from the deli on toast.
No, ours was chipped beef.
Oh, you had the chipped beef version.
Yeah, real salty.
So,
No wonder
this was too.
I was retaining water at the age of 10.
Yeah, it was like this random kind of meal. You never minded it, But then there'd be other meals. So what I was thinking, and my parents were also smart. They would every couple, once or twice a year, they'd buy a hind quarter of beef. So you'd have all the ground beef, you'd have roast and all this stuff. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm beginning to connect the dots now of how my parents gave the impression of I'm going to say frugal, but they never felt cheap. But there was always enough. But then I'm like, okay, some of these things that we're doing, I'm now understanding why we did it. And also, great
so
care.
So they could take 98 days across country.
Honest to God, because that wasn't cheap.
Yeah, exactly.
But then you think about it, you take great care of certain things. My dad must have had a snowblower. I think my brother Gary still has it. My dad died in 95. Okay?
Wait. Were your parents Depression era children?
No, my parents would have been born in the 30s, but they would have been more so towards the end of World War II would have been where they would have had memories and stuff. But you got to realize now in my family, interestingly enough, I've told this story before. So on my dad's side, my grandma, his mom, her husband, my dad's father, my grandfather, he was a chief engineer on the old coal ships on the Great Lakes. We're talking the big, ships that would go into Cleveland. Yeah, they would go into Cleveland. They'd go all the way up into Canada. He was gone from the house multiple months a year during his active working time. So during that time, now, my grandmother in World War II era baked hundreds, probably thousands by the time it was done, of cookies for the Salvation Army, which would get distributed to troops. I don't know how much of that my father would have remembered. He'd have been like 10, but also during that era, and you're asking about the Depression era. So my father had a lot of family in Canada and would go literally spend all summer long with his grandparents up in certain parts of Canada. And that was the thing to do. And you're talking a generation now that if it was his grandparents and he was born in the 30s, these people were born in the late 1800s and they were farmers, and it was a totally different lifestyle. In fact, one of the memories I have, my father would always tell me, he goes, I will never forget the smell of homemade baked bread on the farm and how it would make your mouth water and you could not wait for it to be done.
That sounds so good too.
It's not, okay, in the pandemic, we all learned how to bake bread again.
Right.
But that was 100 years after this.
Yeah, homesteading is becoming huge on social now, where people are doing the same thing. Also, I just think that's an era of appreciation.
Oh, I think so.
And things where there was no fast fashion. There wasn't something to replace. There was no Walmarts. There was no Targets. There wasn't anything to replace something that was
Kmart
broken.
was the biggest store of chain. And that was when I was very, 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 very young, that Kmart, and actually used to have a grocery store. They were the original Super Walmart. Up in Buffalo. I remember going grocery shopping with my mom at Kmart. And then, we'd go to the butcher shop, things like that. It was I have these memories. Yeah. All this coming together, they never once preached, this is why we eat tuna casserole. This is why we eat, this, every once in a while. They were never there. It was smart. It's not even frugal. It was smart buying.
Yes.
And smart prepping and smart, and well taking care of things.
But my parents didn't either. And I wish they would have. Now, there were times like that conversation would come in, but I almost wish they would have actually either sat me down, or when they did something, they would say, we're doing this because, or you need to know this about finances, because I think most of my finances and all that education came later in life by a completely different adult, not in my family.
Yeah.
Whether it was, we had a teacher in high school that we had to take a class where we had to, balance our checkbook and all that stuff. Taking an econ class in college, that was another one. Then taking a financial peace class as an adult was another one, because I was making too many financial mistakes because I think my parents weren't saying it. And I think that is, I'm not saying that my parents failed me in any way, shape, or form, but I think that if they would have actually tied the two together, as opposed to me having to kind of figure that out and realizing like you said, my parents have nice things because they also were really good with pinching pennies and cutting corners financially. And my mom was a really good saver. So I saw that. My dad, not a great saver. Good thing I didn't get all of those genes, or I would have no money right now.
Well, and it's funny you say that because, and I swear I'll finish the Nebraska story.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if it matters anymore, but it's how I knew that Nebraska was actually a place really on the map. But
because you've been there.
I come back to the, like you're saying, the money thing. I'm not saying my parents gave up by the time I came around, but I look at me and my two brothers. So my brother Gary excellent with finances. Excellent. In fact, he was the executor to my parents' estate when they passed. And literally outstanding with finances, right? Still to this day, he's long retired and maintains.
He's dying rich.
And he was the penny saver, right? But he was good at it. My brother Jim is good, not as good as Gary. If I was assessing this, I can't 100% say, but this is my perception.
Yeah.
Me, I sucked. Really sucked. And
You're
I'm
the
not
baby.
saying my parents gave up on it by the time I came around. I'm just saying I don't know where... but also a piece of it is the person you are. You have to keep that in mind. Some of it really is, you can teach somebody all day long, but some of it also is, who are you as the person? Can you be tamed?
Call me crazy, but don't you feel like some of this is genetics too? Because my mom is great with money. My dad isn't. And I was like, there's got to be some genetics to that. I kind of fall in the middle.
It's what you're seeing that appeals to you the most and makes you go, I kind of like that.
But there still is something that I think that it's deeply rooted in genetics about that.
I agree with that, totally.
So the other thing, well, you tell the Nebraska thing first.
Yeah, so...
no. Let me say this. I think that part of it too is don't know your parents, didn't know your parents, anything like that, but you were the last born. You also were adopted. I mean, I think that falls into how they treated you, maybe a little softer.
It's possible.
And so I don't think it's giving up. I think it's that you were definitely like cared for softly.
Well, and there's
nothing wrong with that.
Even beyond those points, which is a possibility. I mean, it is a genuine possibility. I think that they would allow me to be more the dreamer and attempt to do what I wanted to do based on my career path and everything versus, well, you got to make sure. The one thing that I did get, even though we're very much in an industry of inconsistency in many cases, although God knock on wood and bless everything, we've had a very consistent path, both you and I, with this, which is not the most common thing in any entertainment aspect of the industry. Think movies, you do a movie, you're done. Am I going to get booked for another movie? Yeah, if you're a big star for a while.
Couldn't live that way though.
But in broadcasting specifically, it can be a very vicious, you're here today, gone tomorrow. And I'm not saying this is the last Scott and Allie Not For Air podcast, but it could be. Maybe it is. But
we do have an 11:30 meeting today.
But
that could be the end.
This could be it. Plug is pulled. But all joking aside, it is a tumultuous industry as far as not being the most stable and saying, your dad worked for Ford. Your dad, the minute he walked in the door at Ford, if he wanted to retire from Ford, which he did, there was a path laid out for him. He always could stay there and be involved, grow hopefully like he did. There was that road.
Right. Or you stay on the assembly line your whole life and you do that too.
You do. But it's consistently pretty much there. Yes. I mean, they may not make the Ford Probe anymore and you may have to be out of work for a while. But
Probe?
You don't remember the Ford Probe?
No, but that name.
Go back and look at the Ford Probe. Google that. You're going to be like, oh my God. Yeah, that was a car obviously they don't make anymore at Ford. But, maybe you worked that line and then maybe they said no more Probe. And then actually it was really advanced for its time, that car, by the way.
It reminds me of a car that, yes, very sporty. It reminds me of a car that now, like those 90s cars are so popular again.
Yeah.
It's definitely that where people are vying for this style car.
Oh, and it was a piece of shit. But anyway.
I don't remember that.
Yeah, that was out in the early 90s, late 80s. Okay, so anyway, but our industry's not like that. The one thing I did get from my parents was whatever I do, find a way to maintain work. Find a way to continue to have what you have. And then when my parents passed away, I had a real eye-opener because I couldn't call Betty and say, I'm struggling with rent because I'm struggling in the beginning of my career. Can you help me? I had nobody. I mean, it was do or die.
That's so scary. Scott and I were kind of talking about this a little bit off the air earlier today about how we have a friend and lost both of her parents within the past,
couple years.
Yeah.
One recent, one not so recent.
One was during the pandemic and then one very recently. And just to think, like you said, she doesn't have anyone to call, not even just for life advice, but what if you did need just like a little bit of money or a little bit of something?
Yeah.
Nothing. No one to fall back on. That is just...
It sucks.
Yes, that's insane.
My biggest fear when my parents passed away, there were two emotions. There was the sense of loss that,
of course.
they're not there. And of course, you think things like they're not going to see any of my kids, and my mom was always, had that desire and used to say things like, well, when you have kids, you'll let me babysit, right? I'm like thinking to myself, I'm going to drop these sons of guns off for 3 weeks straight.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, the way you talk, it seems like your mom would have been a great grandma.
Oh, she would have. And my God, would things have gone easier in parts of my life that she would have absolutely put her foot down on and been like, so and so is going to knock something off, or they're going to have to deal with the wrath of Betty.
Oh, Betty.
Powerful woman. But that all being said, it was the sense of loss, but it was also the sense of, and the fear is what, it's almost like it was like an adrenaline thing where like, I don't have that fallback. And there was one point, and now mind you, I respect my brother for this now, and I kind of knew the answer was going to be this back in the day. In the early 2000s, and this was a period of time where I had exhausted some finances and was beginning to hit a bit of a rough patch, and it was a scary place, right?
You're like, Gary?
I was sharing the story with my brother, and he had said, well, I'm not loaning you money. And I'm kind of glad that actually happened, because it did make me have to figure out where to go.
He probably saw you buy that expensive sports car that you bought.
Could have been.
And then thought, no way.
I theoretically never had, I had never specifically asked. I was sharing with him, like you would with a family member that you should be close to. I was sharing with him what was happening. And then that comment was made. And I'm like, well,
I really have no one to fall back on.
Right. But you do. I mean, it teaches you things and how to get by.
And this is all happening while my mom is actually currently in town and took me to the grocery store the other day and spent $100.
You didn't know, but she's coming to my house in about 2 hours, and we're going to Wegmans.
Yeah, right.
So, you just don't know yet.
Exactly.
Back to Nebraska for just a second. This was the second trip cross country because we enjoyed the first one so much.
This is like the apron, like you guys went below now?
Yes, we started to dip below the apron, not quite below the skirt yet, but which was above the knees. But anyway, so this route, we took a little bit more southern route. I don't remember much of this trip, except for we got to Nebraska. I got viciously ill.
Oh, is that why you don't really remember it that much?
Yeah, I don't remember much about this trip. And mind you, both these trips were 3 weeks at a stint. It takes you could probably do it pretty quick, but we took almost a week to get to California and almost a week getting back. And you wanted to have a little bit of time if you're really enjoying a place. Oh, we're going to spend another night or whatever. So it was darn near 2-3 week stints, no less than 2 weeks. But anyway, the second trip, we were in Nebraska, and I mean, I thought they were going to have to like remove my throat. I was so sick, so sick. I mean, it was really, really bad. And I
didn't know this.
My parents actually had to take me to like what would have been an early version of an urgent care at a hospital in Nebraska. Couldn't tell you what city or what. And the doctor literally said, he goes, you guys need to go back east to more humid weather. It's so dry here. It's affecting him too badly. It's hitting his system. He is so dried out with his sinuses and with everything else. He needs more humidity in the climate, because you got to figure, I was born and raised in Buffalo. During the summers, it's humid as balls. You'd think it was, Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah, I mean, you're proving the point even why we take honey from our area when we get sick.
Sure.
It's because this is what our body is acclimated to. And that's going to be the healing properties that are in your vicinity.
That's my one run-in with Nebraska. We got the hell out.
Oh my gosh, that's interesting. All right. Well, the other thing too that I had, I know we teased this on the show too, which I've been dying to talk about, is Chad Ochocinco. Oh. Remember on the show I said I can't talk about this on the air because it's too risque.
Yeah.
So, did you hear the surgery that he had?
No.
Oh, baby. He had pee-pee lengthening surgery. And I did not know how this worked. Here's how it works. Well, this is my basic understanding of it. So, he says, and very candidly, had talked about how he was with a lady and that she was like,
where is it?
No, that wasn't what she said, but basically it was like what you would say when you're eating ice cream or cookies. More, please. And so
Well, no, girl.
and so she said, more, please. And he was like, I got nothing to give. So he said at that moment, he knew I'm going to get this pee-pee lengthening surgery. I'm not just going to Austin Powers it with one of those pee-pee pumps. And little 1990s reference for you. So how it works is, let's say, put your finger out and there is the pee-pee. So underneath your pointer finger is some sort of ligament that they can, oh, this sounds so painful.
Oh God. Yeah. This is getting uncomfortable.
That they like cut underneath, and they can cut that ligament and it will lengthen it by
Drop your dong.
yes, by a couple inches. But the problem is you're basically like a tripod at this point. That ligament is really something that is kind of like the string on a marionette. It will hold it up. And so
it's the lifeline for when you carry it in your purse.
yes. So if you get excited, you're getting excited, but you're getting excited and it's going like straight down. You literally have a third leg. So then,
Oh yeah, so it doesn't have any more of the
it doesn't have anything to
reverse
hold.
of gravity.
Right. It doesn't have anything to hold it up except for your hand. So he was explaining that when he, there's certain things, certain positions, certain ways that he likes to be with a lady. I don't know why I'm being so sensitive about this, but because it just sounds painful. But anyway.
Okay, yeah, right. Yeah.
So that whenever there are certain positions that he needs to be in, one of them might have to do with a dog, that when he's going doggy style, that he has to actually hold the base, because the base it can't hold itself anymore. So in order for him to do certain things in the bedroom,
How big's your dick? So big, I gotta help hold it up.
yeah, exactly. He's like, oh, I'm just doing some curls over here.
Yeah, right.
So
Wow.
he has to hold it to do certain things to make sure.
I bet he's a master at the helicopter now.
Oh God, yeah, that or the pendulum.
Yes.
And I don't know if it hurts or what the recovery time is on any of that. That I am kind of curious about.
This can't be pleasant.
No, I would think, you know how like when you have a baby, you're not supposed to be getting any action for like, what is it, 6 weeks or something, or 2 months?
After? I guess.
Yeah, I can't remember what the timeline is, but so then he has to wait X amount of time, and then he can, you know.
Is he still with the same woman that asked for more, please? Did she stick around so that she could get more?
I don't know. I'm going to doubt it. I really am going to doubt it. Or maybe what if they broke up and then she's like, I got to at least have it one more time so I can notice the difference.
And then she's like, what? And then she's like this. Oh, look at the difference.
I wonder if it's the
If you're on
same.
YouTube, you'll get it, or any of the places you can watch it.
I wonder if it's the same as like people who lose a lot of weight. Because if you lose a lot of weight, then all of a sudden there's more room to work.
Isn't the losing a lot of weight, in the case of the member, if you will, isn't the member always the same once it gets to the maturity that it's going to be? Mm-hmm. And when you lose weight, you can just see it better?
Well, I don't know.
Like, do you lose 100 pounds and your dick grow 3 inches? I don't think so. I think you're still there.
Right.
It's just now you can.
But I think there's
look
also,
down and see it.
like I said, there's more room to work.
Well,
and
yeah, room to work,
because,
sure.
You know,
it might give the impression.
Scott,
of
I'm going to
larger-
guess that you have never been with a curvy lady.
Well, I mean, how curvy's curvy?
Like Lizzo.
Oh, not that. No.
Okay.
Old Lizzo or new Lizzo?
Oh, old Lizzo.
Oh,
but
no,
like,
I have not. No.
I'm not going to talk too much about your current girlfriend or anything like that to save her from any privacy or embarrassment. But what I'm saying is, if you are with somebody who is, let's say, Lizzo size, and then you go to somebody like Hailey Bieber size.
Oh, geez.
I think you're going to notice a difference.
Wait, who? You or me?
Well, both. I think both parties.
Yeah,
notice a difference.
there's
Because I've
truth
been
to
with
that.
somebody who was a big guy, and then I got with somebody who was very svelte, and there's a difference. There's more room to work. I mean, obviously, it's a difference because there's two different people, but I'm just saying it is just the capabilities are just different.
I do understand that statement totally.
So,
I mean, yeah.
So with
But I am thinking, though, and I don't know that they've ever done the scientific research on this, someone that weighs 350 pounds and then loses, let's say, 200 pounds. That's dramatic, right?
Yeah.
That you just pop down to 150.
Yeah.
I haven't been that since 10th grade, right?
Right.
So, at any rate, I'm thinking your Johnson's still the same that it was.
But then it's an optical illusion.
Well, that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah. It's like, wait, did this grow?
Oh, well, yeah, you wonder. You're like, oh, damn, look at that.
But it seems like it because it looks
It's
bigger.
always been there.
Right, and
It's just, you just didn't
there's
see
more,
it.
There's more room in the garage.
Because you
know?
had Dicky Doo disease. Your belly stick out further than your Dicky Doo.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, man.
Yeah. Is that not the most wild? But here's what I said to my significant other.
And why now that we're talking about it?
Yeah.
Because until this conversation started, this thought never went through my mind. I always thought he was probably, I never always thought because I just said I hadn't thought about this till right now. But I would have said, when you said Chad Ochocinco, big football player, this and that, I thought he was going to be walking around with a baby's arm holding an apple like he's just, hung like a donkey.
Right. You would think so. And I bet you he probably is. But
well, yeah, now.
But no. But I bet you he was. But sometimes it's like, when you start something and
he
you're
needs
like
to lose 150 pounds to show it. Is that what you're
no,
getting
but
at?
when you start something and you're like, okay, I've gotten to that first goal. Now let me keep going. So I bet you, like for him, yeah, he might have been hung like a donkey. Is that what you said?
I use donkey.
He might have been hung like a donkey, but he was like, what? Now if I know I have more to give, then I'm going to give a little bit more.
Oh, well.
Goals.
Sure. Yeah.
But here's what I said to my significant other. Once I found out about this story, I was like, whoa. So there's people who won't get vasectomies. There's people who won't get vasectomies because they're like, well, I don't want to fix the plumbing or I don't want to break the plumbing underneath the sink.
That's the thing. I have two reasons I won't do it. Number one, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
Because, you start messing, they say, you start messing with the plumbing. And I know millions of guys have had vasectomies. Don't get me wrong. But I don't need to be the one out of the 20 billion that do get a vasectomy to have the plumbing go bad. Okay. You know what? It works. Why are we going to play with the pipes?
Right. Well, and that's what I said about this because his at least works. It's not a matter of like, impregnating somebody.
Yeah, but now
or
it's a straight downspout. I mean,
I
now you've messed with the plumbing a bit where it's not. It wasn't what it was. What?
It's an elephant's trunk.
Yes, it is an elephant's
But
trunk.
I would at that point. This truly goes in with the adage of if it's not broke, don't fix it, because this isn't a matter of like preventing people from having babies. This is just you're messing with something that could break for life, and I can't take that risk.
It sounds broken already.
It's not broken. It just wasn't as big as he wanted it.
Yeah, I know, but there's also the part of I would be little personal here. I would be a little bit alarmed if, let's say, the flagpole was not at a different angle with excitement versus not.
I know. And he must have known that going in. They must have said to him,
Well, she certainly knows it going in. Hey now.
They must have said to him, the consequences of this are that you are going to literally be like...
you're going to have to carry the flag as opposed to the pole being able to display the flag, even if it's at half-mast.
On that note, I salute you.
Amen. God bless America.
Well, that was fun. Wasn't that fun? That was fun. Do us a favor, will you? Subscribe. Share the Scott and Alley Not For Air podcast. Touch our buttons. We know you want to.